Hello, this is Bill Webb, aka Billy Indiana. Have you ever wanted to play a game that was like chess, but had a very different theme? One that had pieces with different styles of movement from traditional chess, and a different way to capture the opponent's pieces? If so, you're in luck. Let me tell you about this game, Five Paths, by Nick Jackson and his colleagues at Loam Entertainment. They've sent me this prototype copy to explain to you with this preview video a little about the game that's coming to Kickstarter on October 5th. So here you can see what comes in the game, and again, this is a prototype version, so the components and the rules might change between now and the launch on October 5th, and even after the launch between then and when the game gets distributed. But in the box, you'll find a rule book that obviously is going to explain how you play, and this I know has been even updated since I was given this prototype copy, so I know they're continuing to try to clarify and improve those rules. And then we've got our game board, we got a couple of dice, we've got 10 tokens a piece for each of 2 players as it is a 2-player game. And the components are very nice. The board is nice. It's got high quality wooden tokens, and the tokens are 10, but they come in 2 of each of the 5 different characters. And those characters are even explained on the board. And the labeling on the board actually helps you play the game well. So even as a prototype, I would say this is very high quality. So in this video, what I would like to help you understand is how do you play the game, how do you win the game, and then hopefully from that information you'll be able to decide if this is one you might be interested in backing when it comes to Kickstarter next month. First, let me explain how you would win the game of Five Paths. It is very chess-like, and you're going to be moving your tokens, and each player will only ever have 5 tokens in play on the board, either in their deployment zones or out in the field of play. But as you move them, you're trying to capture 5 of your opponent's tokens and put them in these infirmary spots on the side to track the progress of the game. That's the first win condition. Another option is that you could get to the game to the point where your opponent, when it's their turn, cannot actually declare one of their tokens for action. That would be the second way to win the game. Now that'll become more clear after I explain how you play the game, but first let me explain to you the setup. When you set the game up, you're going to start by rolling the dice. Oh, we got 2 ones. Let's roll again. A 2 and a 1. All right, so this player rolled a 2. They are going to be able to start deployment of their tokens, and then they will go in alternating fashion. This player will also end up starting the game since they rolled for the higher number. Now, when you deploy, they're going to pick any 5 from these 10 in any combination to put in the 5 deployment zones on their side of the board. And in alternating fashion, the other player would do the same. So, for instance, maybe this player would say, I'm going to put my Gale in this deployment zone, and their opponent might say, I'm going to do the same, but I'm going to put it on this side. And they would go back and forth until they've filled in all 5 of the deployment zones. Let me zip ahead and get those into position. For ease of explaining the game, I'm just going to put one of each of the characters into the 5 deployment zones for each player, although that isn't necessarily how they have to be deployed. So now that the setup is complete, let me explain to you about how a turn would take place. And keep in mind again, I have just chosen to pick one of each of the 5 characters for each of the players here to explain how each one will work in the game. And again, each of the 5 characters is explained on the board: the Gale, the Torrent, the Arc, the Flash, and the Canto, and they each have their own color on the token pieces so you can easily tell them apart. Now on a player's turn, and this player would begin since they won the roll-off, they will choose to declare which of their characters they are going to put into action. Once declared, they will roll the dice, except for the Flash, who always just moves 3 spaces. And once they've rolled the dice, perhaps maybe they say they're going to move this one, they will choose, depending on the character, how to use those dice. Some use both dice, some use only one, and we'll get into that in character by character analysis of how they work. Now, if they chose to move this one, they would deploy from any of the red nodes that surround the deployment zone for that character. Same for this one. They could choose to deploy starting at any of those 5 red nodes. Now you'll notice some other positions on the board as well. There are blue diamonds here, and there are also these green nodes on top. Some of the characters can move through the blue diamonds, but most have to go around. Some of the characters can move on top of these green nodes, which are actually rooftops, but most players have to go around. There's also the rule of momentum. Every time a player moves, they have to move in a straight line until they hit a corner. At that point, if they still have move remaining, they could choose to go in any direction from that corner, but they have to follow the law of momentum. They can't turn a corner unless there is something that stops their forward progress. So that's the basic idea of a turn. Declare, roll, and move. Your goal in every move is, if you can, to try to either set yourself up to capture an opponent's token or actually capture that opponent's token. Now, if you ever do capture an opponent's token and you don't have 5 of your own token in play, you can actually then, at the end of your turn, take one from your reserve and put it into a deployment zone so that you would again potentially have 5 in play. All right, so now you know a little bit about how you win the game and a little bit about how a turn goes. Now let me explain character by character how each of these different tokens move so you can better understand the strategy behind the game. So first up, we're going to talk about the Gale. And the Gale, whether you're playing with these tokens, the black tokens, or the white tokens, it's the same function. Whether you're playing with the first Gale version or the second one, they have the same function. Gales always have this style of movement. You roll the dice, and so let's say I just rolled a 7, and you're going to move the Gale that many phases, or up to that many phases, to either finish your move and or capture an opponent's token. Now, the thing about this game is no matter which kind of token you move, you have to follow the rule of momentum. So you have to move in a straight line until you hit a corner, and each movement point are these red little dots along the track. So I would have to move straight until I hit a corner. Now there's another special feature, and all of these have a special thing they can do. So the Gale also has the unique ability to access building rooftops, which are these green nodes on the board. And when they're on those green nodes, they can't be attacked by any other player unless it happens to be the Gale of the opponent, which could also get onto the rooftop. And so if I rolled a 7 and this was my Gale, I could move it 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I hit a corner so I can go left or right. If I go right, 5, I hit another corner so I could go this way or that way. 6, and then I can go this way or that way because I hit another corner. And then 7, and I ended up right on top of my opponent's character, and that is how the Gale captures the opponents. So if I were to be able to do that, I would put it here, and then I would put that character in the infirmary over here to show I've captured one of them. As soon as I can capture 5, I've won the game. So that is how the Gale moves and how it attacks and captures. And again, it's possible that the Gale could have, let's say that instead of capturing, maybe the other player hadn't gone yet. So maybe I would choose to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and hop up onto the roof for my 7th step. Maybe there wasn't a token out there for me to capture. So that would be another legal move for the Gale. So hopefully that makes sense about how the Gale moves. Now let's talk about the Torrent. So the Torrent also is going to roll 2 dice, and then they're going to have to move and capture by landing on top. But they have a special action and a different way to use the dice. So when they roll, they're going to choose 1 die to be their movement, and if they're able to capture within that movement, then they would activate the second die and be able to move a second amount of steps or second amount of nodes. Now, their special ability is that they can actually go through these blue diamonds. So they can't get up on the rooftops like the Gale, but they can go through these blue diamond spaces. So let's say that I rolled a 5 and a 4. And so if I wanted to use this Torrent, and also any of these, when they're in the deployment zone, they can start off from any of these nodes surrounding. So in my previous example, I just went straight, coming straight out of that deployment zone to this node first. But this Torrent could start here, 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 or here, same as this could have started here, 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 here. So you've got those different nodes of starting out of the deployment zone. But let's say that the Torrent wants to try to get this character, and so they're wanting to try to use their counts here to get on top. And so let's say they maybe start here. So they go 1, 2, hit a corner, turn, 3, go across the blue diamond for their actual special movement, and 4, they end up on top of that white token. And so they've used their 4 for movement, and they've captured this one. They would put that one in their infirmary, and so now each player has demonstrated how to capture. But because they captured, they would activate this second one, and then they could potentially move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say maybe they're trying to set up for another turn, and so they go straight with their momentum until they hit a corner. They can turn, they can go through blue diamonds, and so that illustrates how the Torrent uses their dice a little bit differently. Captures the same way, but also has the ability to go through those blue diamond spots. Next up, let's talk about the arc. The arc has another unique feature, they all do, and it is the ability to roll 2 dice, pick one for movement, and pick the other one for attack range. So they actually don't have to land on top of the other opponent in order to attack. And so let's say that this arc rolled a 6 and a 4. And so if they wanted to try to attack this character, they could pick which node they want to try to move off of. Let's say they go from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they use the 6 for movement. And now this character is 1, 2, 3 nodes away. They're within the striking range of this 4. So that means without landing on top, they could attack from a distance of 4 and capture that character and put them in the infirmary. So again, a different kind of movement, a different even kind of capture for the arc. Next up, we have the Flash, and the Flash has this kind of burgundy colored sticker. They always move 3, so you don't even need to roll the dice. So let's say that this person took their Flash and did 1, 2, 3, and just got them on the board. Seems pretty simple. They also capture by landing on the top of the opponent's tokens, but they do have a special ability that is on the other player's turn. Let's say we go to the next player and they declared they were going to move their arc. And let's say they rolled a 6 and a 3, and they were trying to get within range of capturing this player's arc. So they would go 1, 2, 3, 4, hit a corner and try to turn. But at that point, they are within 2 nodes in line of sight of this Flash. And so whenever you go within 2 nodes in line of sight of the Flash, you have to do a roll off. And when you roll off, each player is going to roll the dice. If the Flash wins over the one that they've initiated the roll off against, they are going to dictate how this one will use the rest of its move. And then if the defender wins as they're coming through and the Flash has initiated the roll off, if they win, they get to continue their turn as it was. If it's a tie, the turn just ends immediately right in that spot. So at this point, we would roll off, and so we'll say blue and red for these two. And so we've got blue and blue, turn just ends. And so this guy could no longer try to get within range of the other one to defeat it because the Flash caused a roll off, which ended the turn. The Canto is the last character, and it has the most complicated form of action because of its special abilities. Its movement's pretty simple. You're going to roll the dice, and let's say we roll a 5 and a 3. You're going to pick one to be your movement total, and you move that distance. However, if anyone comes within 1 range of the Canto, or you put your Canto within 1 range of the opponent, that opponent would be stunned. They would be frozen. They couldn't activate on the next turn. So if we had this 5 and a 3, we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and stun this one because we've moved within 1. Next turn, the player with the black tokens could not choose to move that one. Now, the only way you can free one from being stunned is if you are able to somehow capture the Canto who is stunning, or you can push that one that is stunned out. Now, to push is a little bit easier. To push, you could roll and move your player and push it out by taking its place. And then you could push this one into any adjacent spots. Maybe you push it over here to get it lined up for another move, or maybe you push it over here to get it lined up for another move. But you would push it out of that spot, and now it's free. Now this one is stunned, but this one is free, and maybe you need to do that so that you can use it the next turn for another feature. The other side of that is if you've pushed one out of being stunned by the Canto, that Canto can't act on the next turn. Now, it is true that the Canto could stun multiple tokens, so if these were both here, it would actually be stunning both of those at the same time. All right, so that's a unique thing. And for a Flash, if the Flash is in that stun zone, it can't use its Flash of causing a roll-off. So there's a few things going on there, quite a few things to think about. The one way to overcome that stun is with maybe using an arc. So let's say this arc rolled a 4 and a 5. So they could see they're trying to get rid of this one and move 1, 2, 3, 4, and now they're within range of 5, but they're not close enough to be stunned. So they could then capture that Canto. Another way is to use your Gale by coming off of or coming through a roof. Maybe step up onto the roof and down because you're not within 1 if you're on the roof. Another way would be to use the Torrent that can move through the blue diamonds. So if it happened to be on the other side of a blue diamond, you could move through the blue diamonds to attack it. So you have to be a little bit clever in how you would capture the Canto of the opponent. And that is how you move the 5 characters in the game 5 Paths. So hopefully now that you've seen how you win, how you play, what all the different characters' special actions are, and how they would be able to both move and capture the opponent's tokens, you can maybe make a decision as to whether 5 Paths might be a game you'll want to back when it comes to Kickstarter on October 5th. So I hope this was very helpful for you. I'll put a link down below for the Kickstarter page once it's available. And as always, thanks for watching. This is Billy, Indiana, signing off.